Inviting yourself to come to a comfortable upright seated position. And you can use your bolsters, you can use a block if you want to, or a folded blanket to give you some support to lift your sit bones so that our sit bones become a little higher than our knees. That allows us to have our spines more upright as our pelvis tilts slightly forward. And I thought, as we might have been busy doing things with our bodies recently, perhaps working in the garden or taking ourselves for walks or sitting for longer than we might normally, we'd start with a gesture, a hasta mudra for the back. And this one, we stick the thumbs inside and make a fist. We've got a fist. And we simply extend the little fingers and touch the little fingers together and hold the whole thing down towards the base of the torso. If you find you need to, feel free to rest your forearms on your thighs. Thumbs are inside, fingers are curled around, and the little fingers are extended and touching. And this is called Anudandi Mudra, the gesture of the back, particularly the lower back. And as you breathe, you may notice that you have the capacity to feel the breath flowing up and down the spine. This gesture is helpful for good posture, optimal posture, easing the lower back. It's perceived as being effective at gently massaging, as we do this breathing, the kidneys and the adrenals and helping to reduce stress. Allowing yourself to settle there, perhaps closing your eyes. So you might find this is a useful gesture if we have low back pain. To come to an upright, appropriate position, perhaps using a cushion behind our backs on a chair. Feel the backbone in your body, starting at the tail, the coccyx, working its way up through the sacrum, the lumbar spine, the thoracic spine where our ribs join on, up into the spine at the neck, the cervical spine. A sense of your breath being a wave of relaxation, flowing freely through your whole back body. We're often very aware of the front of our body, not quite so aware sometimes at the back. Feel this wave rising up from the base of the body, the base of the back, as you breathe in all the way up to the top, roughly between your ears. And as you breathe out, that wave flowing back down the spine. And as you breathe out, direct the breath into your lower body, the legs, feet, the pelvis. Deepening your sense of comfort and stability. And breathe towards the middle of your back. Sensing the lower ribs expanding gently as you breathe in, and allowing a softness and ease to bathe the entire middle region of your body as you breathe out. This is the area of the kidneys and the adrenals, the liver and the stomach. Let all tension be released. And direct your breath into the upper back. With each inhalation, sensing space created between your shoulder blades. And with each breath out, allowing them to release down towards the back of the waist. Greater lightness and ease. As tension releases from the back, from the shoulders. And then your wave breath at the neck, lengthening your cervical spine with each inhalation. And the exhale breath, allowing this area to relax and release, letting go of tensions in the back of the neck, between the vertebrae in the neck. And then return to that feeling of the wave up the entire spine. As you breathe in from the tail to the top. And from the top as you breathe out down into the earth. Waves of comfort flow through my back body. Allowing me to experience greater harmony. And then gently releasing the hands, perhaps giving them a wiggle or a wriggle, allowing your face to come back up if you had your head down, your eyes to open. And then taking the arms into a gentle stretch. If you're happy to bring the arms to the side, if you have room beside you. Turning the palms upwards, going wherever your shoulders, arms are happy to. Breathing in, let the arms rise up towards your ears. Pausing as you turn the palms gently away. And as you breathe out, releasing the arms and the shoulders back towards the earth. Repeating it twice more with your breath. In the pause, you can turn the palms. When you've completed your last round, roll the shoulders lightly if you wish. And drawing the palms forward, roughly in front of your breastbone, your heart space. And as you breathe in, taking those arms comfortably wide, wherever they feel a comfortable stretch across your chest. Perhaps the shoulder blades coming together, and as you breathe out, softly bringing them towards each other or back to touch. Breathing in, arms sweeping, not too high, keep them low. So you really feel that stretch in your shoulder blades. And as you breathe out, coming back towards, and the closing at the front of the chest. One more time. When you released at the end of that, just give your shoulders a little wriggle and roll. The next one is a little stronger, depending on how your arms and shoulders are feeling, taking the arms out like an aeroplane, a fixed wing aeroplane. If this is a bit heavy for your arms, then you could halve the length of your arms and have your hands held by your armpits, and that way you're moving less of the body. If you're happy with your arms extended, we're going to turn ourselves around to the right first. So we're going to breathe out in, as we turn to the right, looking over our shoulder, and breathing out, twisting around to the left. Breathing in, rotating, keep the head on top. Turn the face if you wish to. Stop the arms when they can't go any further. Rotate the ribs as you breathe out, all the way around to the left. Shorten the arms if you need to. One more time in each direction. Returning when you've completed, and give those shoulders a little wriggle and a wiggle. Pausing there, experiencing the sensations. This is part of the shoulder release set, which is very helpful if we get tension in our necks and shoulders. It can help release that. I'm only doing that part of it. There's another two sets to do. We'll save those for another time. I'm going to come up to stand now. If you're wearing socks, taking those off, bringing yourself gently up. And if you have anything on your mat that you need to move to one side, you can do that. I'm going to move slightly further back alongside Kevin, so that you can see more of my arms. You may not be able to see very top of my arms. Once I get going, I may move a little closer to the camera. So with this, it's the cloud salutation, and we begin with the legs. So with the legs, move forward for the legs. We start with our feet relatively close together. You can have your pelvic, your foot width apart, or those who wish to, feet can be together. And then we're bending the knee that we're breathing out from. So we're going to breathe in and both feet will be on the ground. As we breathe out, we can bend the right knee and come up onto the toes. As we breathe in, that foot goes back down to the earth. And as you breathe out, the other knee bends, the toes are on the floor. This is the simplest way if your balance is a little challenged. If your balance is less challenged, you could come up onto your tippy toe. Breathe in, the whole foot goes back down, transfer the weight. Breathe out onto the tippy toe. Breathing in, down to the weight of both feet. Or for those who feel ready, using the hip flexors, the abdominals, lifting the knee. Breathing in, the foot goes down to the floor. Breathing out, the other leg lifts. Breathing in, the foot goes to the floor. Breathing out, the other leg lifts. Breathing in, the foot goes down. Both arms can go up to the sky. Palms come together. As you breathe out, other knee lifts or come onto toes as the hands come to your heart. Breathing in, arms go up as the foot comes down. Breathing out, hands, palms together to the heart and the other leg onto tippy toes, toes or leg up. Inhaling, closing down to the center. So the knee comes up or the knee bends as the hands come to the middle. Breathing in, we stretch everything away. Breathing out, we come together in the center. Stretch and open as you breathe in. Close, pulling the belly in as you breathe out, using those abdominals. I am strong. Cloud salutation. I am stable. It's practically impossible to think of anything else when you're doing this. Once more each side, ending with your left leg coming up. As you lift into the last one, the leg comes down, the arms come up, and then the hands simply come to your heart without the legs lifting. And then you can release and come to stand comfortably in your Shavasana, your Samastiti or your Tadasana, and checking in how you feel, maybe closing the eyes if that's safe for you. Experiencing the energies created by your cloud salutation. Noticing how the rest of the body is experiencing it. And then we're moving down onto all fours. So if your knees are fine with that, if you want padding, use one of your blankets or some other padding, and coming down onto knees and hands. And looking for that upright thigh, upright arms, so wrists underneath our armpits, as well as we can, with a nice flat back. And I thought we'd take ourselves gently for a few cat movements, cat-cow, and then into tiger for a bit of strength. So do check that you have space to stretch your leg back and you're going to avoid kicking anything or anyone. Spread out the hands comfortably, particularly focusing on the fingers being used rather than too much weight in the wrists. Check spaces across your upper chest. If you need to, widen your hands slightly. Then when you feel ready, breathe in where you are. And as you breathe out, draw the belly up towards the spine, tuck the tail down and take the head between the arms. As you breathe in, lift the tail out behind, draw the shoulder blades away from the ears and look slightly forward of your mat, extending up through your ears rather than your chin. Breathing out, draw the abdominals up, press the back of the waist towards the sky. Feel the shoulders lift up towards the sky, tail tucks, head tucks. Breathing in, lengthening comfortably through the front of the spine. Breathing out, stretching through the back of the spine. One more time with cat-cow. And on the next cat, as you round, as you go the other way, lift your right leg up off the floor and stretch it, looking forwards. As you breathe out, draw with those abdominals to pull that knee through towards your forehead. Same leg, 3 more times, 4 altogether. Breathing in, stretching that leg away, breathing out, pull it in. Use everything you have to pull yourself together in the middle. You might find it helpful to push on the hands as you pull that knee towards your forehead to really bring the shoulders up high. Carefully changing sides. When you're ready, you breathe in again and lift the leg out into Vajrasamana and pull that knee in. Stretch the leg away. Keep the body as stable as you can. As you press the hands down, you may find you can lift your shoulders higher. Shoulders away from ears as the leg goes out behind. When you've completed, drop back to a child pose if that's comfortable. Or if you prefer to kneel up, that's fine as well, whatever works for you. As you breathe in your child pose or sitting back on your heels, notice if you can experience that feeling of the breath in the back of the body. Do you remember when we did Anudandi at the beginning? Perhaps you had more of a sense of your breath being at the back of your body. And this is another opportunity where potentially you could put your hands into Anudandi mudra again, the thumb inside, the little fingers touching, and use this slight rounding and the natural curve of the spine to experience your breath moving the back ribs, the back of your body. So I'm wondering if anybody has a belt handy. If you don't have one handy, then you can do this without a belt. And you may find another time it's useful to have one. If you don't have an actual belt at home, then don't worry, you can use anything else you've got, actual belt off of a garment or something like that. If your knees are less than great today, then you may want to start this kneeling high rather than kneeling low. It's not quite so easy to do that way. And if your bottom doesn't reach your heels, that doesn't matter. You could put a cushion or something between your bottom and your heels, or roll a blanket up to do that, to prop up. We're going to hold the belt behind us. So if you're kneeling high, that's all right. You could have the belt behind you here for the moment. If you're kneeling low, you can have the belt behind you. And you want that belt probably about a shoulder width apart, just roughly that part. And if you have very tight shoulders, I would suggest you go wider. If you know your shoulders are a little tight, or you feel that they sometimes are a little restricted, or they tend to roll forward a bit, then I would suggest you take your arms wider. You'll find that the solution, as you do it, it'll happen, whichever way you need to go. So our arms are behind us, so width of the shoulders or wider. And for those who are able to, you're going to bring your forehead down towards the mat. I'll show you, because talking and looking at the camera is quite tricky. So we're looking for a nice stretch in the back without straining. So be careful you don't overdo it. If you can get your forehead towards your knees and the crown of the head goes onto the mat, and you roll across the crown of your head towards the center point, as you then lift your arms as far as they will go and your bottoms come up off your heels. If you find that's too hard and you're up here, then you can still bend to the floor and do the stretch. Okay? So whichever way you're doing it, you're going to lift the arms, you're going to drop back to your heels or come up, depending whether you're in high kneel or low kneel, and do it 4 times. So breathing in. As you breathe out, folding your head to the floor. Then breathe in and lift up the arms. Stay. Take another deep breath in. And as you breathe out, drop back to the floor. Breathing in, lift the buttocks, lift the arms. Stay to breathe out. Stay to breathe in. Breathing out, lowering the body back down. So 2 more times, working with your own body. Please make sure that you are avoiding overstretching the shoulders, particularly if you've done a lot of busyness with them. Perhaps a lot of computer, mouse work, a lot of digging in the garden, a lot of cleaning in the house, whatever it might be. So respect your shoulders as you work with them. You're breathing in as you're lifting up and over the top. And as you practice this, you may find you can gradually get your head closer to your knees, and that will give you a lovely stretch across the back of the neck and across the crown of the head, loosening up some of that tight connective tissue there. So when you've completed, you can set your strap to one side and come to lie on your front. So lie on your abdomen. If you need any padding there because you have bones that press into your flooring, then please make sure you have that. And you may want to just rest your hands one on top of the other and your forehead on your hands. You can let your legs widen a little bit, and this is known as a crocodile for some people, and it's a nice way to become aware of your breath. So you're breathing through the center of your body. You can really begin to feel those ribs starting to move when you breathe here, as well as that effect of the diaphragm pushing the abdominals out of the way. So they come down to the floor as you breathe in, and the back of the body, the lumbar back, rises up towards the ceiling as you inflate. Then when you deflate, you'll find that the belly seems to become lighter as the diaphragm is pulled up by the lungs, and there's space for the spine to drop down into its gentle curve. So I find that this position, if you've been doing a lot of work where your back has been bent forwards, big strain here, that this is an excellent way to simply stay 2 to 5 minutes, allow the spine to come back to its natural curve before you ask it to do more. And we're going to ask it to do more now, if it's appropriate for you. Of course, as you work with this for yourself, you can come back to this position or any other appropriate position as and when you need to, in order to make this right and correct for your body. You're working with you, with your body. So please respect that. And even though others are maybe carrying on, you will stop. And if anybody chooses to go a little higher, That's fine. They may. If you choose not to, you're in your own body, you'll listen to that. We're going to begin moving into the Sphinx. I'm going to use the timer this time. I'm aiming for about 3-minute hold in a yin way. Please, again, if it's too long, come down before the bell goes. So lifting yourself up onto your elbows to begin with, as Kevin is behind me. So your elbows want to be in that nice right angle position. For some people, it may need to be a little further forward for them, and other people a little bit wider out, generally not closer to your body. So as you begin, you're settling in there with those elbows, palms maybe forward, or you could have your palms together in a prayer position, Anjali Mudra. Tops of the feet, if they're possible to be on the floor. Of course, you might have a blanket or something underneath your ankles if your feet are pressing into the floor, unless you're on the sand. And noticing if your pelvis is down. Where do I experience this sensation? And our primary area of sensation is through that lumbar region. We don't want to necessarily crash into our very low back. So if that's too much for you, I would suggest moving your elbows a little further forward and letting some of the ribs drop down towards the floor, lengthening the curve rather than bending the curve. Working with your own breath and body. Have a sense of those shoulders floating down your back. And whatever your day, weekend, week has been like, what's your back saying? If it's quite tight, sometimes if we clench the buttocks, that will help to support that lower back for a while. And it may give us an opportunity to stay and be in this place for longer. If it's too much for you, I would suggest either walking your elbows further forward, dropping your head down to put it between your shoulder blades rather than your lower back, or coming to rest completely. And anybody who wishes to could take this a little further if their back's feeling good and lift up into their seal pose. So Kevin is going into the seal. And here you can take your hands wider if you find that more appropriate. They could also go further forward, which will reduce the arch. And again, avoid sitting into your low lumbar back. If that's the only place you're feeling it, I would suggest moving your hands further forward or taking your legs a little wider. 40 seconds to go. If you're happy to stay, please come out of the pose if it's becoming too much. Find the breath. You may notice it's more awareness at the front when you're in this position. Lowering your body gently down, resting your head on your hands or turning your head to one side if you need to. What feels right for you? Take a beautiful breath here and feel that expansion around the middle of your body. As you breathe out, feel that belly coming up and the back gently dropping down. If you're able to come to your knees, placing your forearms alongside your ribs, push down on your forearms and elbows, lift your pelvis off the ground, walk your elbows back and find your buttocks reaching your heels. And you can rest there, slowly descending down into your child's pose, perhaps making fists with your hands to rest your forehead or turning your head or whatever else is appropriate for you. experiencing the changes that take place as you pause there. Of course, the alternative to this is with yourself on your back and your knees on your chest, if being in the child pose is less comfortable for you. Slowly coming up to either kneel or sit, depending which is right for your knees, hips, ankles. And we're taking a forward bending position. Options, depending on your knees, are frog. So that's when we take our knees nice and wide. Our toes can be together, or anybody who's able to turn their feet out can do. Not something my ankles like to do, but other people's do. Wide knees, padded if you need. The alternative to this, if this is one that doesn't work well for you, is to sit on your bottom, possibly on a blanket or something, and bring the soles of your feet together, and you can do butterfly instead. So if butterfly really failing for your knees, stick your legs out, do dragonfly instead. All right, so you have got 3 options. Ideally frog or butterfly, but if you need to do dragonfly for your legs, you will. Here we're looking for, if you're doing frog, you're looking to bring your body down between your legs to the best of its ability, which means hinging at the tops of the legs, with a thought of leaving those sit bones behind you, so that you're extending out. And it can be helpful to push your bottom away from you as you walk your hands forward. And drop your ribs and drop your chest. Maybe drop your elbows initially rather than having your arms stretched, to experience the sensation on your inner thighs. That's where our primary stretch is. And if you have an extreme stretch here, I would suggest you need to bring your knees in a little bit more. Perhaps you've gone too far. You can always move them further as you stay. I would suggest you don't go too far too fast. Once you're in the right place, and we're going to stay here for 2 minutes, you can begin to settle. So you're either in frog, with your bottom as low as you can, or perhaps you're in butterfly. And you're breathing, and you're allowing the back to be stretched. You're allowing that inner thigh stretch to happen. Checking as you hold that the stretch is appropriate. If you need to in a butterfly, you could shift your sit bones back. If you're working with the frog, feeling that you potentially could drop the chest, abdomen down between your thighs, if you have space. If your inner thighs are already talking quite loudly to you and you're heading towards your edge, then I would suggest you come back a little bit. Make it appropriate. If you're feeling it, you're doing it. If you're feeling excessively, you're probably overdoing it. And focus on your breath. And breathing to the back of the body. That's where you can take your mind. Easing yourself comfortably out. You may want to either bring your knees in back to a child pose if you were in frog. If you were in butterfly, you could bring your knees up, or you simply stretch your legs out and perhaps lean back a touch, or stay sitting upright. Coming up to sit now, with your legs extended out in front of you. I'm going to take the half butterfly, Or if you look at it the other way, it's the half dragonfly. And we're going to bring the right heel in, if it's possible for your knees, and you can take the left leg out. So it becomes a wider, it's not a head to knee pose, it's a little bit wider than that. So we want that same width between the legs that we had before. Because we're going to go down through the middle again in a slightly different way because we haven't got our legs all bent this time. So being aware of your sensations, are possible toes going up towards the ceiling. And you can fold from here. If this knee that's bent is an issue, then take yourself into dragonfly and work from there. For the two sides, you'll be doing it both twice long. So 2 minutes with our half butterfly and leaning forwards, finding that stretch. And which leg is it for you? Probably the straight one, but hey, everybody's different. If you feel you'd like to experience the back of your body breath, you could take your hands into Anudandi Mudra once more as they rest out in front of you. Thumbs inside, fingers around, little fingers touching. As your body stays, perhaps you find there's room for change, and you may wiggle out your sit bones or simply allow your body to curl a little more towards the earth. If it's too intense, come back. "30 seconds to go if you're happy to stay. Releasing your mudra, if you're using it, coming slowly back up, bringing your left leg in, releasing your right leg out. Give them a little shake off if you need to for a moment in the middle. And if it's all right bending your left leg, you could do that and step your right leg out comfortably wide for you, finding the right place. Allow those sit bones, the pelvis to tilt forward. So if you find for you that is a challenge, please use your blanket, fold it behind you and pop your sit bones up on the edge. That may help you slightly to come forward. So you can do that if you choose. Experiencing yourself there, and when you're ready, folding at the tops of the legs. Use your hands if you wish to walk your way out. And then you can establish once more your Anudandi Mudra if you choose to. Notice if the breath is moving well towards the back of the body. Where do I experience the stretch? Is this appropriate for me? If the answer is yes, stay. If the answer is may have gone a little far, draw back. You may find you get there in the end. Heads, necks releasing, if possible. Following your breath, 40 seconds. Easing the way up, let the head come up last. Easing the knee in, releasing the legs out. And then you may like to come to lie on your back in Shavasana. If you need to have the knees bent, feet on the floor, that's fine. Settle yourself. Use a cushion, blanket, folded, whatever you need underneath your head, so that the back of your neck is long, your throat is relaxed. And simply let go. If you're able to be in Shavasana, lying flat, experience those sensations from the stretches, from the holds, the yin practices you've done. What is my body saying to me? Aware of your breath. Aware of the ability of the breath out to release you. And take a beautiful deep breath in. As you sigh that breath away, you may want to stretch your fingers and toes. You can release yourself into a hug, bringing your knees gently onto your chest. Wrap the arms around the legs if it's comfortable, or behind the knees. And squeeze yourself up into a little ball. Or rock your pelvis from side to side or forwards and backwards. And then rolling yourself over, coming up to sit. And we're going to place ourselves into what I like to think of as a W shape. So we have the hands are behind us and our body is at a slight angle back, depending on the length of your back. And the soles of the feet are on the floor. Now you can work with the heels on the floor so the toes can come up as well. We're looking for movement through the pelvis here. So as you push your heels into the floor, you'll find your pelvis will rock back, your lower back will get a little longer. And as you breathe in, you pull your heels towards you, lengthen your heart, and the pelvis will shift forwards towards your thighs slightly. You breathe out, push the pelvis away. Breathe in, rocking towards the front of your sit bones. Breathe. And then as you breathe out, open the gap between the tops of your legs. As you breathe in, close the gap at the top of the legs. Take it where you can go. Shoulders might roll forwards as you drop your back. Shoulders can drop back and down as you roll the pelvis forward. Working with your own breath. Feeling those abdominals helping you to pull you towards your thighs and to push the back back. Elbows can bend slightly if you find you want to. It rather depends upon your dimensions. Everybody's slightly different. As long as the weight is down through the sit bones and the heels, you should be safe. 2 more breaths, working with your pelvic rocking. And then releasing the legs when you've completed those. And you may want to flop your body gently over both legs. You can have the legs together, slightly apart. We're going to bring ourselves to a back bend again. If you prefer, there are alternatives here that you could do. If you have a bolster to hand, grab your bolster, and you can either lay your bolster out behind you so that the back of it is ready. And if you possibly need a cushion or a folded blanket, something extra for your head, if you know your head tends to be lying back, you can lay that on or have it beside you ready to put on. And then draw your pelvis up against the bolster. If you are making it with a pile of cushions or pillows, that's fine too, whatever you've got to hand. Another way of doing it is using a rolled mat. So you roll up your mat and lay that along instead of the bolster. So you could use your mat or roll a blanket around your mat to make it a little softer. And then when you're ready, you can choose, what would I like to do with my legs? So some people may choose to sit on their feet and take themselves back into a saddle. With the knees might come off to begin with, but once they're there, they'll begin to drop and get a nice stretch through your quads as well. That's not an offer for you, then you may like to do the soles of the feet together version. Setu Bandha, and let your back rest down and the soles of your feet together. And if that one's not happy today, slide your legs away, stay with the low back bend. And if this is too intense, come down onto something less. Have less. Less. And if you're happy, once you've settled yourself, check your head is supported appropriately for you. Arms dropping out to the side, perhaps legs dropping out to the side, or soles of the feet together, knees dropping out. And perhaps allowing your eyes to close, your breath to flow. So a supported back bend, if that's on offer for you today. If you're feeling a little cool and you're doing this, then I would suggest you pause, put a blanket on the top of you, and then come to rest. Once you're settled, bring your awareness to your breath. Follow it from the tip of your nose down into your lungs, whatever space is available. And as you breathe out, send the breath comfortably away, emptying and emptying and emptying, to the point where you feel as though there's nothing left to give, without a strain, and allow the breath to fill all that space. As you continue to allow your breath to leave, you may get a sense of the surrender, the back of the body giving to the support beneath you, the front of the body giving to the support behind as well. And using that exhale as a release, to let go of tension, to let go of stress. As you breathe in, you may notice how your body accepts, welcomes the energizing effect of the inhalation, the inspiration, and the exhale, sending it away, really letting it go. Sometimes we are able to retain some of that in-breath unconsciously. This is an opportunity to allow as much of it to go as is safe to do so. No forcing. But when you think you've breathed out, you may say to yourself, breathe out again. Sometimes you can use the words. So as you breathe in, you could say to yourself, breathe in, breathe in, breathe in, however many times is appropriate for you. And then when you breathe out, breathe out, breathe out, breathe out, breathe out. So subject to what you're feeling, what you're experiencing, you can use those words to assist you in a potential extension of the inhale and the exhale without force, without making it happen. Allow it to happen. What do you notice at the end of your breath out? Does your body give just a little more? Perhaps you could allow that to happen if it hasn't yet. Two more. If you're still okay, if you need to change your leg position, do so. Two more breaths. If you have your knees apart, you might want to use your hands to gently bring them back. If you're kneeling, sitting on your feet, you may want to gently press your elbows beside you to bring yourself up. And if you're lying on your back and it's possible, you could either roll to one side or you can push down, use those abdominals and your hands to gently bring yourself up. Rearrange yourself, perhaps moving your bolster things out of the way. And if you were in saddle, you may want to go into a child pose, as Kevin is, or you may choose to lay on your back and stretch yourself out into Shavasana and see how that, what's the body saying now that you have been in that back bend for a while? How is everything? Take another beautiful deep breath in, sigh the breath away, stretching if you're in Shavasana. And you can roll yourself into the middle, give yourself a hug, roll yourself over or up, and rearrange yourself to sit or kneel on your bolster, your blocks, a chair, whatever you've got available and wish to use. So in the position you find yourself, with a comfortable upright body, pelvis tilted slightly forward if that's possible. If it's not, you may need to sit a little higher. Play with that. And then invite your left hand to reach towards your right leg or whatever you've got available, and the right hand behind. Simply keeping your pelvis still, rotate your chest softly around, looking over your right shoulder. Deep breath in. As you breathe out, turn yourself back to the front. Take your other hand across if it's safe for you. Deep breath in. As you breathe out, rotate. Stay and breathe. Check whether you're leaning back. Am I upright? Can I keep that spine upright? As if it's a spiral staircase now. So those ribs moving around like a spiral staircase. Gently. Breath is flowing. One more breath. And as you breathe out, return to your center. And wriggle and wiggle if you need to. Checking through the body, how do I feel? What's going on? And perhaps after the practice, you are feeling comfortable to sit in an upright position for a while. Maybe your spine is feeling more aligned. If you wish to, you could re-adopt Anudandi Mudra, fists, thumbs inside, little fingers touching. And perhaps aware that that breath is moving the back body, moving in the back body along the spine. And if you were a traveler, a journeyer, where do you find your experiences have taken you? What are you conscious of in your body, in your breath, in your emotions, in your mind? I'll leave you with a question for yourselves. What do I have too much of? What do I have too little of? And when you know the answer to those questions and you have found the middle way, got more of what you need and less of what you don't need, you will be balanced, or at least on the way to being balanced. Releasing your mudra if you had it, bring your palms into Anjali Mudra, the gesture of reverence. Resting at the heart space. You can join in with may I be if you wish to. Breathe in. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy. Hariam Tat Sat. Namaste.